So can you see a PowerPoint presentation popping up?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, all working. Awesome. Yep. Let me try and move that a bit. Okay. Well, good evening and thanks for the amazing turnout on a Thursday evening. I can't believe it. I was expecting to just be telling Mark about tech diving, but I'm really good. If my camera drops out, will you just shout and I'll try and put it back on? But obviously you'll be watching the presentation more than me. We're just gonna have a look at the whole idea that Mark approached me with a few months ago. Mark's christened it Toomer Tech Tours, by the way, not me. Mark did the lovely logo for us as well. So let me dive straight. Oops, let me dive straight in. Hold on. Yeah, okay. So just as an overview, I just wanted to run through a few things. Obviously, some of you are quite accomplished technical divers already, and then some of you may not be tech divers at all. So what I've done is I've kind of tailor-made this presentation to diving up to the limits that we're setting for this week, which is 55 minutes, so 55 meters. So it's the whole idea behind the boat is it's an introduction to tech as well as an experience week for those who have got the experience. So we're going to look at why do you want to tech dive? What is Toomer's technical tours? Why did Mark and I choose the Red Sea? Why did we choose the boat Ghani? What it means to you, what we're offering during the week out there, a little chat on training and guiding on board, and then booking your trip. And if we don't run out of time, there's some fantastic photos for Andres at the end because they're from our Bikini Atoll trip. So let's dive straight in. First of all, why did I start tech diving and what have I accomplished? I was a very, very happy PADI course director. Didn't even pump nitrox at my store. I was not going to get into tech until I'd got myself into a comfortable position business-wise. But then I started doing dives, and that dive there, Elka's photo, that's the motorbike inside the Thistlegorm. That's the dive that actually led me to start tech diving, because I'd been waiting to have enough money to go to Egypt and get onto the Thistlegorm. Got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, trucked all the way up the Gulf of Suez, jumped in on the dive, and my dive was about 37 minutes long, because I was quite a new diver. Didn't have a lot of experience, and I was extremely frustrated when I came out. The second dive wasn't much better, and then of course we turned around and went back to Sharm el Sheikh. And I was very lucky that I knew quite a few people in Egypt, especially guys at the Red Sea Diving College, and they started to talk to me about extending my range in terms of using twin set and stages and doing a little bit of decompression. I didn't actually have the grand idea of teaching Trimix to 100 meters on rebreathers in the back of caves and under ice and in wrecks. That was just a natural metamorphosis of my career. So I've been extremely lucky. I've managed to meet some incredible people in the industry who've really looked after me, taken me under their wing, mentored me. I suppose my best accomplishments, other than things like RAID, which I'm extremely proud that I was one of the founders of RAID. I think my big things are I got accepted by the guys who were doing the wrecks up just outside Scapa Flow. So the Vanguard and the Hampshire and the Royal Oak. I got accepted on those dives. They're not particularly deep. They're in the 30-40 meter mark for the Vanguard and the Royal Oak. But the Hampshire is in 68 meters of water, and the Hampshire was the first real well-organized expedition that I went on, where I was really able to use a lot of my tools, my rebreather skills, my instructional skills, all the things that I'd learned over the years. And then from there, I got accepted by Timmy Gambian to go on his expeditions out in the Red Sea, where I did a submarine in 130 meters of water. We did amphora wrecks in 110. We were tasked with finding the remains of a fallen American airman on a B-24 bomber. So Malta really was my home, and through all of that, and through some very kind people, I became a member of the Explorers Club. But it's very, very important for you to know that I'm just an average bloke. I'm just an average diver who's been bitten by the bug, and I saw things in the water that were a little bit deeper than where the recreational guys could go, or I wanted to spend more time on it. That was one of the big things, was time. I wanted more time in the water. I don't know if you can see my hand, but I'm giving the thumbs up sign. That is the most awful sign you can give me on a dive, is the thumbs up at the end of the dive, right? Because I just don't want the dive to finish. I really, really enjoy being underwater. So being able to use a twin set or side mount or rebreather really extended that. What I found was there was actually not that much of a massive transition from rec to tech and back to recreational, because recreational divers now are very used to diving in trim. Quite a lot of them are using 2-meter hoses and wings. SMB deployment is standard practice. Long hose gas sharing. There's umbilical lights, handheld lights. So on a Goodman's handle on your hand. There's a lot of things that I found that actually were not that massive a transition for me, moving from the single tank to the twin set, which is where I started off. What I also found was I had some really good instructors who told me straight away that the course is a diving course, not a walking course, right? So one of the big things was I was worried that I had to be kind of superhuman fit, like a Marine or something, to be able to do this. In actual fact, what I found was the instructors and the teams, if you were struggling with multiple stages and twin sets, they always put something in place to assist. And that's one of the beautiful things about this Red Sea liveaboard. You're not lugging gear to the edge of the water. You're just kind of walking up to the water and dropping in. For those of you that want to increase your general diving skills, there's moving into even the most basic entry-level tech, like a 40-meter decompression course. You will increase your diving skills dramatically if you've not already participated in a program like that. Your propulsion skills, so by the end of the course, you'll be frog kicking like no one's business, helicopter turning, reverse finning. You'll find gas sharing and SMB deployment dead easy. And the only thing that takes a few minutes to get used to, and I mean a few minutes, is just trimming out the twin set or the side mounts, depending on what you chose to go to. Knowledge is also a big thing that you'll learn. You'll learn lots of decompression theory, dive planning theory, equipment theory, configurations. You'll have a look at a whole wide scope of diving. It really starts to tie diving in. I don't know how many of you know, but up until about 13, 14 years ago, about 15 years ago, I had my own dive center in London. That's where I briefly met Mark first time round. And I had quite a lot of dive masters doing training. And when I moved into tech, it was really interesting how many of them were doing the dive master course to get better skills and better knowledge. When in actual fact, they gained more by moving into the technical arena. Now, I certainly don't want to put anyone off becoming a pro diver in any way, shape, or form. But for quite a lot of the people at my dive center that I was working with, they were actually doing the dive master really as the next kind of option. It was the only option that they had, because we were truly a recreational store. We didn't do tech at all. So when we introduced tech, there was a huge movement where people came and tried it out, and then it went bananas. Andres and Gary, I don't know who else was involved in my business way back when, but they all came through my store, and although some of them went on to pro stuff, they also dived into the technical stuff as well. The big thing for me is the deeper and longer, not massively the deeper. The deeper for me is if there's something down there that I really want to see, that I feel that the risk and the reward are paired off, then deeper works for me. But I really want the longer. The longer is everything I was after, because those of you who've dived with me will know that I do not like getting out the water once I'm in. I really, really love it. And then as you progress as a diver, you start to find places that no one has been to. And I've been very, very fortunate that I've been within, in the first dozen divers that have been on some of these wrecks that we found. And let me tell you that there are literally, if you're into wreck diving, there are literally hundreds of thousands of wrecks yet to be discovered. Yeah, in Malin Head up in Ireland, there are 6,000 wrecks in one bay, of which the majority of them have never had a human being on. Now, some of them are too deep, but many of them are within our depth ranges. And then, of course, as you go on, caves and wrecks may tickle your fancy, and you may go, you know what, I actually would really like to see some of the phreatic zones and perhaps push my limits as a wreck diver as well. So what you've learned already, for those of you who are not in tech, what you've learned as a recreational diver, I can guarantee you will not be lost. It is moved directly into technical, because there is such the gap between recreational and technical is not like it was when I started technical diving. There was quite a big gulf. It wasn't as big as my predecessors, but now it's much closer. That's me having I'm doing a skill circuit, practicing for a 70-meter dive there. That's in Malta on my JJ, and I'm just doing stage handling with my buddy. So the other thing I love about tech is I just love doing the skills. I just get in the water and practice skills. If there's nothing to see, then you'll see me doing skills. So some common questions. Is it difficult? Look, not everybody is a mathematical genius, and some of the mathematics are going to flummox you. But when I teach technical, and when many of my peers teach technical, we will show you the theories and the algorithms behind some of the things like EADs, ENDs, best mix, trimix, gas densities, all of these different things. We'll show you the theory behind them. But in actual fact, we don't expect you to get your calculator out every time you go diving and work these things out. We've now got apps on our smartphones and on our tablets that will tell you all of that, and they will tell it you correctly. The problem with a human being and a calculator is we've got the propensity to press the wrong buttons and then get the wrong answer. So you don't actually need to be a rocket scientist, and it isn't anywhere near as difficult as some people would portray. The problem with technical diving is a lot of the tech diving community, it kind of massages their ego that they tech divers, and in actual fact, I'm not here to have my ego massaged. I'm here to go diving. One other little sidebar as well, for the girls that are on this call and those that may watch the video afterwards, you make the best tech divers, right? You are absolutely the best tech divers there are. If you go online and have a look at Jill Hyneth and Maria Bollerup and Ramva, you're going to see some of the best explorers in the world now. And what they are doing is utterly phenomenal. So is it scary? No, because everything's progressive. And as a scuba diver, you know that you have the right to end a dive at any time without telling anybody why you're ending the dive. And what the precursor to going on any dive is to do a run through of the dive and attack the thing gently. I don't do anything where I'm stressing you out to the level where you can't perform. Obviously, when you're training, you will get stressed, because that's part of the process. But not stressed to the point where you're scared. If I'm scaring divers, it's the same as when I ride a motorcycle. If I've got someone on the back of my motorcycle, the last thing I want to do is scare them. I want them to enjoy the experience. Is the kit heavy? Yes, the kit can be heavy, but as I say, this is not a walking course, and we're on a lovely liverboard boat in the Red Sea. So the twin set can actually be muscled over to the dive deck. You can sit on the dive deck, put your twin set on, flop in, have your stages handed to you, and go on your dive. There is no monster walks. Like if we go to Malta, for example, there are a few dives there where you have to walk quite far in your twin set, whereas on this boat you don't have to go very far at all. Do you have to be super fit? For those of you who know me, I'm fit, but I'm not super fit. and I'm 60 years old, and I've just completed a bunch of 100-meter dives. So no, you don't have to be super fit, but you do need to be medically sound. So when you're filling in the medical form, which is is a self-authorizing medical form, be very, very honest. And if you're in any doubt, go and seek medical advice before you start doing decompression dives. Um, and Oops, someone's going off.
That's my dogs.
Yeah. Well, I was hoping it wasn't a human. uh, can anyone do it? Yes, obviously, if you pass the medical, you feel that you're strong enough to participate in the sport, and of course, you meet the prerequisites, um, which generally is that you're advanced open water, you've got your deep diver, you've got your nitrox, and you're 18 years old, then you can participate in the sport. Each level that we go through, and we'll talk about them in a minute. But rather than running through standards tonight, if anybody wants the standards to the courses, you can request them off me or Mark. I know Mark's put some of the standards on his website for you to have a look at the prerequisites. But yeah, pretty much anyone can do it, because once we get in the water, that kit weighs nothing. As you know, from you put a ton of lead on with your single 12, and when you get in the water, you can't feel it at all. Okay, so what is TTT? It's a unique partnership between Oyster Diving, myself, and my company, Diving Matrix. Mark approached me several months ago, and I was super, super excited about the option to do this. Many of you know I've run trips all over the world, and I really dearly love the Red Sea. I think the Red Sea is a phenomenal, phenomenal place to go tech diving. You've got the beautiful walls, you've got the wrecks, you've got the canyons. And the one thing about being a decompression diver is, don't forget, at the end of every decompression dive, you do a long recreational dive, because you do your decompression in 12 meters, 9 meters, and 6 meters primarily. So if you're coming out of Thomas Canyon and you've done a 45-meter dive there, when you start coming up that wall, you'll be doing a recreational dive, looking at fish and having the time of your life while you're doing decompression. So the Red Sea is a phenomenal, phenomenal place to be. At this point, I obviously I would prefer that Mark explained who oyster diving are, for those of you who may have jumped on through my link rather than through Mark's link.
Yeah, so hi everybody who doesn't know me or oyster diving. So I set up oyster diving will be our 20th year next year. Originally set it up as a diving centre and a travel company, just because I'd done all my diving overseas, and I assumed that, quite naively, that nobody really wanted to dive in this country, but I soon found out how wrong that was. So we've been doing loads and loads of recreational holidays and diving in the UK and overseas. And then more in the last year or two, probably particularly, we've had more and more people interested in continuing their education, wanting to learn more, see things that most other divers can't see. And I didn't really want to just kind of do what every other sort of organisation in the UK tends to do. So when I saw Paul was potentially becoming available, I jumped on the opportunity basically, because I thought, well, if you're going to do it, you've got to do it properly and do with it. All the people I've met in 20 years of diving over here, Paul's name constantly comes up as as being. I hope his head's not getting too big now, but as one of the nicest and the most knowledgeable and the best experts, particularly in the diving industry, sorry, technical industry. So I then obviously approached him through our sort of organisation. We've got liveaboards all around the world, but we wanted to both start off with something that's new and simple and introduce people gently to the world of tech diving, and then hopefully we can get more and more people on board, and then we can do trips further overseas. We're already talking Truck Lagoon hopefully in 2028. That's the dream. In terms of actual us as a travel company, we are members of the Travel Trust Association, which basically means if you pay us to go on a holiday, the money goes in a trust account. We can't pay anybody without either having a supplier failure insurance or you have to have returned from the trip. And then we're not even allowed to take any commission or anything out of that account until you've returned from the trip. We also got our own atoll, so we're fully bonded, which means also that we can package everything up with flights, transfers. If you need extra hotel accommodation, whatever you want. I've got a colleague, Samantha, who sadly is not here tonight. She's kind of like our main account manager. She's always got a point of contact, and obviously you're welcome to contact me as well. So yeah, that's me. So that's over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Mark. That was great. Right, so I've given you a bit of a rundown on who I am, but just to give you it in a nutshell, in 1992, I actually ran out of the water because I was scared of the big fish in America. In 1996, my best friend phoned me up and said that we could learn to dive down in Poole, which is funnily enough where I live now. And we went to learn with a company called Diving Leisure Unlimited. I went into the swimming pool. I did regulator remove and replace, and I blowed it clear. And then I did remove and replace, and I pressed the purge button. And then I stood up, and my wife looked at me and went, "Oh God." And the instructor went, "What do you mean, oh God?" And my wife said, "He's found his calling." And within 6 months, I had my own dive center. I was very, very lucky that for those of you who may have heard of Phil Short, Phil Short did my open water, some of my advanced, my whole rescue, and half of my dive master before he became tech. So my transition into tech was really nice because I was able to talk to Phil as I moved through. And that's one of the big things about tech. I mean, in recreational, having a mentor is very important. In tech, it's super, super important that you've got someone at the end of a phone that you can query something that you may have read online, or some idea that you've got, or maybe a knowledge gap that you've forgotten something. I opened my store. I became a course director in 2001 with Paddy, and I had the absolute time in my life. I got into tech. I then sold my businesses in London, moved to Malta, and was tech only with Diving Matrix, which is the next one down. And Diving Matrix flourished for many, many years. And then I got a phone call asking if I'd go and work for SSI. And I worked for SSI for 2 years. And I've got to say, in my industry life, they were the best 2 years of my life. I absolutely loved working with SSI. And then SSI merged with Mares, and I, funnily enough, just got the opportunity to buy Raid. So me and my friend Jim bought Raid, and we reversed it. And then several months ago, I decided I wanted a new adventure, especially with the fact I turned 60 in August. I wanted a new adventure. I wanted to get my teaching going again. I wanted to get diving. I wanted to have some fun, and everything just seems to have dovetailed beautifully for me now, especially with what Mark has proposed. The end game with this partnership is exactly what Mark said. We don't want this to be a fly in the pan where we go to Egypt and then that's it. We want to go to Egypt, and we want to go to Malta, and we want to take you through your training. We want to let you come and do experience dives with us. We really want to put you kind of underneath our wing if you feel that's where you need to be. But we want you to be super comfy, that you can say, okay, well, 3 or 4 times a year I can jump on a trip somewhere with the TTT, and I'll get cursory, I'll get refreshed, and I'll get cursory information, and I can work myself up to doing something monster. And of course, when Mark phoned me up, it was brilliant. He said, "So where do you want to go?" So I said, "What do you mean?" So he said, "Where haven't you been?" So I said, "Well, I've not been to Truck Lagoon." So the end game for this in 2028 is hopefully to have you guys trained up where you're comfortable enough to go to Truck Lagoon and dive those amazing wrecks before they disappear, because they are slowly corroding and disappearing. But Truck is somewhere I want to go, and I'm hoping I'm not going there by myself. So hopefully this all works out. So this is I put this photo in. this is basically kind of how far you can take diving. So in this photo, I'm up from a 110-meter dive, wearing a Liberty Light back mount rebreather, which I absolutely freaking adore. I've got 2 stage cylinders. You can't see the one because it's pinned against my side. That's my deep bailout gas floating up behind my bum there. And then on my right hand side underneath my arm is a second rebreather, which I'm using for bailout rebreather. And that's how far I've taken tech, where the durations and the depths that I'm doing, me and many of my peers are now starting to look at very advanced alternative ways of completing these really wild dives. Just behind, yeah, just to the left-hand side, unfortunately, I've cut him off, is my mate PJ, and above my head is about 12 other guys, all decompressing for this amazing dive. What we were doing there was we were cataloging, photographing, 3D photogrammetrying a 110-meter amphora wreck that was 2,700 years old. And I'm not joking, that's open to the public, that dive, same as the B-24 bomber and many of these other wrecks lying around the world. So if you really did get bitten by the technical bug, these are the things that you've got that are sitting waiting in your future. You know, it's not like, oh, I'll get to 60 meters and that's it. There's nothing more to dive. There's just so much to dive. It's unbelievable. So why the Red Sea? There's absolutely fantastic dive sites. We've picked a really nice itinerary as well, where we are definitely doing the Thistlegorm because it's one of my favorite wrecks in the world. The Thistlegorm is obviously not a monstrously deep wreck, but when you're wearing a twin set and a decompression gas, you'll be utterly amazed at the dive I'll take you on through there. And also Ahmed, who's our guide. Then we've got the walls. We've got Ras Mohammed that we want to do. We're going to do Turan Islands. So the dive sites are going to be just off the charts. Obviously, we've got the wonderful weather out there, and we're going just as spring's kicking in, so we're not going to be sweltering hot. The water will be probably at its coolest because it's April, but it's still beautiful and mild and just gorgeous to dive in. The other thing about for those of you who are interested in learning with me out there, the wonderful thing about going somewhere warm to dive is I can take you into the water for hours. And that is where you're going to learn your craft. You know, sitting in the classroom with me talking about all the academic side of technical diving and diving in general can be done at any time. But it's when you go into the water, and me and Stuart found this the other day, and this is not to disparage Vobster in any way, but me and Stu, who's on this call, he just did his side mount rebreather instructor course. And we were challenged every day because we had a student who was quite ill on the course. And every time we got into the water and we had to bring our friend out of the water because he just couldn't equalize, we'd lost a chunk of the day because the day starts there at 8 in the morning and finishes at 3. 3, you've got to be out of the water. Whereas when we go to the Red Sea, there's no one to tell us when to get in and out. We can do as much water time as we like, which is, for me, is a real bonus. And I guarantee you'll see me sitting in my dry suit chomping to get into that water. The logistics are obviously very easy. Our guide, Ahmed, who is mentioned in the next slide, he's very familiar with working out here. And I have worked with him on multiple occasions before. He's a very nice guy, really knows his stuff. For those of you who are not training with me or diving with me, he'll be taking you on these incredible dives as well. So we're very lucky to have him because he really does know his stuff. And the Red Sea is a mature market and it's got a good infrastructure. So getting stage cylinders, twin sets, side mounts, rebreather cylinders, it's all possible. It's all possible out there. So this is a little map that Mark and Sam sent me of a rough trip around Egypt. But as you can see, there's no shortage of dive sites. On the right-hand side, going up the Gulf of Aqaba, is where we'll go. We'll go into the Straits of Tiran and we'll dive up there. We'll definitely do the Thistlegorm, which is up the Gulf of Suez. We're not going to do the Rosalie Muller on this trip, primarily because the Rosalie is actually an extremely advanced wreck dive. The visibility there can be very, very variable. I've had a few pretty interesting dives there. And I think for a trip like this, where we want it to be nice and easy, we want to gain experience, we want to learn, I think going on a wreck that could possibly frighten you would be foolhardy. I think that is something that you do when you're really, really experienced. And as we all know, this trip is designed for very experienced divers, but also for new technical divers. And my big thing is not to scare anyone on this trip. So there's Ghani. Ghani has been fully refurbished, so we get in a pretty new boat. It's very, very spacious. Mark has reduced the number of divers on the boat to suit the kind of the fact that we're doing technical divers. So on a recreational boat, there'd be a lot more people on. But Mark has purposely kept the numbers down so that you guys have got lots of space. On the dive deck, you'll have lots of space for your gear and all your ancillaries, and you'll have space to sit and prep stuff when we're working through putting our gear together. I'm advising you on how to put something together. You'll have space to do all of that. So that's extremely good. There's a bespoke tender for the tech divers as well. It's not just some rubber boat that we're going to jump in and bounce around like Billy-O while we're wearing twin sets and manhandling stages and with 2 SMBs and 2 reels and lights and whatever else we need for the trip. And as I say, our dive guide, Ahmed, is he really understands tech divers. He is an avid tech diver himself. He's very, very accomplished. So we have a sympathetic ear. So between his experience and my experience, we expect to have an absolutely awesome time out there. So what it means to you, safety is our biggest concern. Mark's safety record is second to none. My safety record is second to none as well. Everything that I do, I love to have a laugh when I'm above ground, but when I'm in the water, I'm pretty serious about what we're undertaking. And your safety is our first priority. You'll be on a boat with like-minded people, because everybody on the boat is going to be going, well, I want to get into tech in some way, shape, or form, or I'm already into it. Going on a boat where perhaps you've got some experienced twin set divers, you've got maybe some side mount divers, you've got some new divers, you've got divers who are planning to only go to 40 meters. Silly, I'm on a meeting. Oh, sorry. That's my son. He's wandered in. Yeah, I'll talk to you in a minute. The beautiful thing is if you're on a boat with a wide variance of expertise, you really will pick up a huge amount of knowledge, because when you're not sitting talking to me or listening to me blab on, you might be talking to someone who might be on a rebreather or who might be on side mount, and they show you their rig and they'll show you how they set their stuff up, and it'll get you thinking and it'll get you understanding everything about tech diving. That's one of the real beauties of this, with everybody thinking down the same path. Obviously, it's a chance to push your personal boundaries. For some of you, 40 meters may have been the maximum that you go to, and you may choose to say, well, I actually want to sign up for the 55 meter course on this week, and then really push your boundaries. I'll get to the courses in a minute just to put you at ease about signing up for a program. And obviously, this is all for some of you very, very new, and for some of you who've not tech dived in the Red Sea, there'll be new challenges to diving in the Red Sea, navigating, coming up those walls, currents, beautiful blue water and sunshine. That'll be tough for you to handle. And of course, it's going to be a lot of fun. So there's open and closed circuit diving and training to 55 meters maximum. So I just want to clarify this, because I didn't want the slide to be like 4 million words long. If we start with open circuit, we've got 3 levels there's actually 4 levels. We can offer 40, 45, 50, and 55. Okay. 55 is pushing the boundary of air diving, because the problem that we have globally, not just in the Red Sea, is helium is extremely expensive and extremely difficult to get hold of. So for those of you who've got a twin set, for a rebreather diver, filling it with helium is not a ridiculous amount of money, because it's only a 3-liter cylinder. But for an open circuit diver, you'll have probably Ali-80s on your back, which is 22 and a bit liters of gas, of which a percentage of that will be full of helium, which could be at about 12, 13 cents per liter. So it's extremely expensive. So what we decided on this first week was, let's stick around the 40, 45, 50 meter range. Now, the beautiful thing about the training is you can say, I want to sign up for a 50-meter course. And if during the week you don't feel comfortable going that deep, or you're not you're having problems with your skills, or you have a fear, or whatever it is, you can say, you know what, Paul, I want to backscale to 45, or I want to backscale to 40. So the 40 and 45 meter courses are 10 minutes of deco courses, and then the 50 meters up, it goes up quite significantly. On the 40 and 45, you're using 1-stage cylinder. On the 50, you're using 2-stage cylinders. So you're doing multiple gas switches, which means that you can really maximize on your decompression time. You'll get monster dives in the 50-meter range. For CCR, I'm happy to talk to CCR divers on an individual basis if they want to go deeper. But unless we get around about 4 or 5 CCR divers, or one wealthy CCR diver buying a J of helium, and a J of helium is how many liters are in a J?
200.
How many? There's a
I think
lot
it's
of liters.
200.
Yeah, 200 liters in a J. Yeah, it's about right. Yeah, so there's about, yeah, so in a J cylinder, 5 rebreather divers will get enough gas for this week. And I stand corrected, Mark, but I think it's $750 for a J of helium, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what Ahmed
Yeah.
said. I'd have to double check it, but yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
so anyone who's interested in joining us on CCR, I am happy to teach up to kind of the normoxic level. But obviously, we want to be really, really honest. We don't want you getting there and suddenly finding out you've got a huge gas bill and softener line bill at the end of the week. We want to be very, very transparent with what we're doing. So anyone who's interested in doing CCR training with me, just give me a shout. And we'll work through it on an individual case-by-case basis. During the week, we'll be able to do refreshers. We're there to offer advice for the whole week as well. My plan is to have evening talks, so at least 4 or 5 evening talks during the week. So I'll kick off with some exploration stuff and some interesting topics, and then you guys can, if you're interested in a particular topic that I've got some experience in, you can ask me to deliver a presentation on that, and I'll knock a PowerPoint up, find some video and some photos, and we can have an enjoyable time having a chat. The nice thing about having evening talks is everybody gets to ask questions and have them answered, and you can have like a real discussion forum where you really start to learn. And then of course we've got the wrecks and reefs, which is what the Red Sea is so famous for. So that's a picture of me actually in the Red Sea, and I am actually on Ahmed's trip there. That was the year my son was born. That's 2012, and I'm just demonstrating some shutdown skills there. And as you can see, what a beautiful place to learn. So booking your trip, I put that photo on there because that doesn't look too shabby to me for the end of dive chill out sessions before I have my dinner. I think that looks pretty cool. You can email Oyster on holidays@oysterdiving.com or call them on that number. If you want, you can take a screenshot of it now, or you can go back to the recording. Or if you've got my details, you can email me on my email address or phone me on my number.
I did put a link in the chat.
Oh, great stuff.
So people can click on that link, so they'll be able to see more about the trip on there, or, a bit more of information on the boat, a bit more on pricing and everything else as well.
Fabulous stuff. Fabulous. Thanks, Mark. So I'll take questions, but since I've moved quite quickly through that presentation, what I want to do is I want to show you a little story of how much I love tech diving. And it's because it's not just about the dive. As you know, when you go diving with your buddies, the banter and the stuff that goes on around the dive is it's super important to making your holiday, your trip, your learning experience the best that it can be. And this Andres, who's on the call, will remember fondly. So this is in Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. This is on a dive site called Shark Alley. It's called Shark Alley because it's an alley and it's full of sharks. Yeah. This guy here, can you see my cursor? Can you see my cursor on the slide?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
So this guy here is a Zimbabwean New Zealander, and his name is Pete Mesley, and he's the organizer of this trip. And this guy here is a South African Englishman, and that's me. And what we're doing is we're dipping our cameras into the water. Now, I've got no strobe arms on my camera. So Pete's dipping his camera in by the strobe arms. I'm just putting my camera into the water. And this guy here is pulling a tuna head over the lenses, over the domes of our cameras, so we can snap them biting on the front of our cameras. Irresponsible is an understatement. The gentleman taking this picture is Professor Simon Mitchell. And Professor Simon Mitchell is probably the foremost diving physician in the world. He's an absolutely wonderful guy. He leaned over after taking this photo, and I'm going to use bloody instead of the rest of the swear words, but he shouted at us and he went, "You two," he said, "you pair of bloody idiots. You're meant to be up here in the safe zone. There you are, sticking your bloody cameras in the bloody water, and the bloody sharks are biting on the front of the bloody cameras." He said, "and any minute now, one of you is going to get your fingers bitten off, and we're going to have to turn the boat around and go all the way back to Kwajalein, which is 40 hours by boat away, and I'm going to have to administer first aid, and you're going to ruin the trip for everyone else, you pair of bloody donkeys." I wish we had the next photo because it's two very embarrassed Africans standing on that dive deck. But as luck would have it, we went up onto the dive deck and Simon Mitchell was taking photos. And on the other side of the boat, this guy's throwing the tuna head, and this shark decides that it wants that fish. Like it really, really wants this fish. Like it is going to have this fish no matter what. And there is no stopping this guy getting this fish. And that's what it ended up like. Now, this is taken from Simon Mitchell's point of view. And standing directly to his left-hand side is me and Pete Mesley. Pete Mesley and Simon Mitchell are best friends. And as soon as this has happened, the shark fell back in the water. Pete Mesley slapped him on the arm and went, "Well, you bloody idiot. What the hell are you doing?" And this is the kind of stuff that you get exploring the world. You know, it's not just about what goes in the water. It's just the hilarity and the joy of being out there at one with nature and being able to really push the limits of being in the water. And that's really why I love this sport so much. It's just an absolute joy because it doesn't matter where you go, whether it's cold, whether it's hot. It's just such a pleasure to be doing this, and especially in a place like Bikini Atoll where you drop down into 50 meters of water and swim across an aircraft carrier that's the size of 3 football fields. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And these are not dives for like superhumans. They're dives that anybody can do with the correct training and the correct kind of attitude. So there you go. I will stop sharing, and then if any of you have any questions, oh, my camera's gone. You can ask me if you've got any questions at all.
Yeah, I certainly do.
Sorry, Alex.
Yeah, I certainly do. Sounds amazing. Sounds really, really good. I mean, I'm coming at this with about 40 dives under my belt. Okay. No technical training. You know, I've just about got my head around a dry suit, but very keen to push on. You know, looking at side mount, looking at you know, exactly as you described, getting more time underwater and more ambitious dives. I mean, is this something? It sounds as if this would work for someone like me.
Yes, absolutely. What certifications have you got so far? Have you got your deep and your nitrox?
Yes, sir. And dry suit as well.
Then you're laughing, Alex. The best thing that you can do is see if you can get in the water a few times before we go and hone your dry suit skills as much as you can, even if it's in the pool, mate. All the rest of the stuff I'll show you how to use it. It's all actually extremely simple. I've just done a hang on, can I just turn my phone off? My dad won't leave me alone.
Sure.
I've just done a 50-meter instructor course out in Malta, and I was amazed by. I'm predominantly a rebreather diver, and I went in the twin set, and I couldn't believe how nice and simple it was. And how much I enjoyed diving the rig. So yeah, your experience level and your certifications are well good enough, mate. And then what you can do is you can say, well, let me bite off the 40, and then if I'm happy, I'll bite off the 45, and if I'm happy, I'll bite off the 50. You know, then you can move at your own pace. You've not said, oh, I'm going there and I must come back as a 50-meter diver. Because the option's there. You know, we can just move nice and gently through each level. So you're not setting your goals too high, but the goal is there. It's not like, oh, I have to come back to the Red Sea in 6 months, a year's time when I've saved up again to get to those depths. We'll sit after every dive, we'll sit and I will tell you honestly how you're doing and what I need to do with you to get you to where you want to be. So that you can say, yeah, well, okay, now I'm going to hit the 45 and now I'm going to hit the 50. All right.
That sounds awesome. Is it worth getting qualified with side mount before going?
Yeah, if you're gonna do side mount, it is well worth doing a side mount course before you go. Right. Side mount is a beautiful discipline, but it's a finicky discipline because everything is about setting that harness up. So if you can get trained with someone really good before you go, if I'm available, I'm more than happy to talk to you about doing it. Then what you do is you get everything set up so that you're super comfy. It's very different to a twin set. It just by design. You're still going to use a 2-meter hose. You're still going to have a short hose around your neck. You know, you're still got a wing, but it's a triangular wing. You can wear it all day long. You never have to take it off. It's that beautiful. You can walk up to the water's edge and they can pass you all your gear and you can just, you know, slide down into the water column. It is a fantastic discipline. You have to be very, very accomplished to really push side mount. Because side mount would mean that you're either trailing decompression cylinders or you're wearing them under both arms, and you've only got so much real estate under your arms. When you look at someone who's like Gary Dallas and Steve, what's his name, and all these guys, right? They're kind of, they live, breathe, eat, sleep, drink side mount. So they have honed their skills over thousands of dives to make that look so easy. 60 meters is well accomplished on a side mount. After that, then you need to really put some dedication into it. But side mount it's an awesome discipline, mate. It is a really, really, really cool discipline.
I'm quite keen. My shoulder mobility isn't so good, so fiddling around behind my head's not. Then
it's a no-brainer because you can see your valves, you can see your gauges, you can see your regulators. It's just an absolute no-brainer. Me and Stu just did side mount rebreather. And although the unit doesn't breathe as well as a back mount rebreather, oh my God, the management of it is so easy because you literally just pull it out and have a look at it. Yeah, it's okay. It's just fabulous. So yeah, you're all good, mate. If you need any advice, contact Mark and I, because I don't know if Mark's got anyone lined up as a side mount instructor. I've certainly got some people I can put you in contact with. But obviously the overarching kind of This is Oyster with Trotter's independent traders as in the background. So this is obviously mainly Oyster's trip. So talk to Mark first, and then Mark will contact me if he's having any difficulty finding an SM instructor, mate.
Alex, just to put your mind at ease, I work with Paul in the military space as well as with raid and everything. I'm the single service head for Army, so back was the diving officer. I mount about 6 to 8 expeditions into Egypt a year for young soldiers and old soldiers. And we take people just doing sport diver training and qualify them on the sites that you're going to be going to with Paul and Mark. So it's all very, very achievable. Very achievable.
That's good to hear. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Well, I think the other thing was probably what might be worth pointing out is the boat that we've got normally sleeps 24, but because of all the extra kit and everything else, we want people to have plenty of space and for it to be quite a chilled sort of thing. We're limiting it to 16 people as well, and I think 3 or 4 spaces of those are already gone. So if you are keen on doing, then just obviously get in touch and we can get you signed up for it as well.
Yeah, that's a big plus, because I've been on tech liverboards where they've tried to ram every bunk full with a tech diver. Woo! That gets fun, man. All you need is one guy to be the epicenter, right? Right. That's all you need is one epicenter, right? Andres, you remember Gary? Gary used to come on the boat and he'd open his dive bag and it would literally just explode to all 4 corners of the boat, right? And you'd be trying to get together, and if you shared a room with him, it's even worse, because you'd wake up in the morning and his computer was in your bed and his torch was in your cupboard, and it was, so having 16 on a big boat, that's a real winner. Ian, you got your hand up, bud.
Yeah, hi, Paul.
Hello, mate.
First, I want to say I've used Mark and Sam's services quite a few times on the scuba scene, and fantastic operators. So unfortunately, I took my missus on her first liverboard on scuba scene, and I've spoiled her. She won't go to anything else now. But I think I've met Ahmed, and they were talking at the time about this new vessel and how they're going to be using it as well. So this is certainly an attraction for what you provide yourselves, and the setup as well is amazing. So yeah, kudos to that and what you're doing. Really, from a personal interest point of view, is new Liberty side mount diver. We've got about 40 divers on the unit now, and congrats, Stu, on your instructor side of things and your national as well. I heard about that. And we're all local anyway. I mean, I'm only up the road from Paul and down the road from you and Hainsbury Head. In that sense, so I'm trying to get about 50 divers on the unit, and I've done expeditions like this before decades ago, and I was on a Robros at the time doing trimix and stuff like that, but they're really fun. I mean, you meet a lot of like-minded people, and they're fantastic things, and to me it's about broadening the network and meeting people that do this style of diving, and like you say, it's not about depth, it's about the experience and learning off lots of different people. That's the key thing for me. But on a personal point, I'm quite keen to, I've done the 40 with the Liberty. I want to get a number of hours on it, but I'm quite keen to go up to either cross over my trimix or get the use of it up to a slightly deeper depth. I'm probably limiting myself to 60. I'm 53 tomorrow, so
you deserve
not as old as you, Paul, but
you deserve a gift then, mate.
Yeah, 38 years of diving, but it's just I'm just keen to get someone to assist with that and dive with people. And I'm familiar with side mount, I'm familiar now with the unit, but I'd like to get multi-stages on there and get comfortable how to rig that up properly and dive with it comfortably. Yes, I've done an open circuit, but that's the sort of thing I'm looking for, and I don't know if this trip will provide that opportunity or things like that.
We can definitely sort that out for you, Ian. Have you still got my text, my number, and
yes, I have,
my email and stuff? Why don't you reach out to me, and then we can have a really good chat about this. I think there's going to be a couple of other side mount rebreather divers on the boat. Certainly Oliver, who's already booked on. He's already sent me a message asking me to price up a unit for him. So this could be pretty cool. And what's nice for people like Alex and whoever else may be doing some training is to see, if you see the side mount rebreathers, Alex, then you're like, it's a kind of aspirational for you as you go forward. You can say, I am side mount centric, it doesn't mean I have to move to a back mount rebreather. I can move to one of several side mount rebreathers, and you'll be able to sit with us and actually see the unit and see it stripped and see it assembled and see it dived. I'm not making any promises, but if this all pans out and I'm doing some open circuit and some closed circuit, I got no problems, as long as time permitting, on trying to do some a couple of side mount rebreather tri dives as well, as long as we got somewhere nice and shallow. So for those of you who may be interested in that, obviously it's time permitting, because whoever's signing up for on a proper course, my focus is on them completing their training.
So probably the most important question then, Paul, where did you sell that kidney that you sold to get to your kidney out of?
Andres found the dealer for me.
Well, last one. I mean, you've got dates for one trip here. How many more are you going to do this year? You're just going to see how this goes and then develop from there.
Yeah, we want to see what the uptake is. Mark's very confident, and obviously, with the amount of people sitting on this call, that's a real winner. Because you just never know who's going to jump on. I know some of you are just jumping on to have a listen and plan for later, but we don't want this to just be a flash in the pan where we're only running one. We want to run more, and we're looking at other destinations as well. So Mark's been talking to me about Malta for one, obviously Truck Lagoon, and the nice thing about Mark and oyster diving is they can go to many places. So once you build a kind of a group of us together, then what happens is you guys start feeding off each other, and then you start to have discussions together, and you become friends. And it's like, man, I heard that there's a fantastic dive in Palau. Who fancies saving up for the next year or whatever, and we'll go to Palau? Or I want to do the Poor Nights down in New Zealand. And that when I started doing all the matrix, when I started doing the diving leisure holidays, that certainly happened. But when I started really pushing the tech, it was you guys that were saying to me, hey man, have you thought about going here? Have you thought about going there? And then it all kind of comes to fruition then, because there's a group of people saying, let's all go. And then that's when it all becomes possible. Where it's very difficult and where it's in somewhat like leads to a bit of anxiety is when you're doing this by yourself, right? And you're arriving somewhere and you don't know if they're rebreather centric or side mount centric or twin set centric. Have they got the gas? Have they got the softener line? What's the guide like? What are the dives going to be like? And you're at their mercy, really, aren't you? And you've forked out all this money. Whereas here, I mean, Ian, you know me quite well. You're now looking at a group of people who've all got the same kind of, this is where we want to go with this. And whether you're on rebreather or open circuit is immaterial. It's it's all the same. We're all going to the same kind of place, aren't we? And most open circuit divers nowadays, once they get to the 60-meter range, they're all starting to scratch their noodle about going on to a rebreather anyway.
It's a network, isn't it? It's shrunk somewhat over the years because of a number of factors and costs, but it's having that network of people and doing these things, and that's so important.
This is why when Mark suggested this to me, I jumped on it like, there wasn't even a what's option B, you know what I mean? I was just like, yes, I'm in, because I would like to build that community. And on a real personal note, at 60 years old, I've got to be realistic and say, how many years have I got where I want to be teaching to 100 meters and teaching rebreathers? But I do know one thing. I've got a lot of years where I would say, right, so Mark and I will sit down and we'll say, okay, so what was the diving like out in such and such a place? And we start to almost run more expeditionary type trips. And that relies on the community at Oyster to mature, and we try and keep everyone together. And that's the whole point of this. If we can get you all to mature together and to feed off each other, then we're all systems go. We're all systems go. It's when it, you know, when you're all fragmented, you're kind of like, well, I want to go to bikini, but I don't know what the operator's like, and it's $6,000 to go, 8 grand to go to bikini, right? If you're going to go to bikini or truck lagoon, you've got to get it right. Okay. You don't want to be going there and saying, oh, well, it wasn't great this time, but I'll come back in 24 months. That's just not the way you want it to pan out. So this is really, really encouraging. Anybody else? Oh, there's a lot of familiar faces here. I can see Streety Boy down there. Gigi was on the call and disappeared after 3 minutes. We've got a good turnout. Oh, Andres, you want to ask something, bud?
Yeah. Were the dates for this trip mentioned?
Oh, yeah.
The 20th of April.
Great.
Say again.
13th to 20th of April. If people want to extend their stay and do something hotel based before or afterwards, we can accommodate that as well. So, but the actual boat will depart on the 13th, goes back on the 20th. If anyone wants flights to coincide with it or before or after, we're happy to price that up as well. Or if you've got your own flights that you like to use, then, or air miles or whatever, obviously you're welcome to use those as well.
What are you using these days, Andres? Are you still on JJ?
Yeah, still on JJ, still love it. I can't imagine I'm going to switch now at my age.
Yeah, brilliant. Just as a matter of interest, obviously, Joe, I know that you're a rebreather. What about the some of the rest of you guys in terms of what your kind of ideas are? And I'm actually looking for a fair bit of honesty, because you know, if you're unable to make this trip, what me and Mark also would like to know is, are you interested in this trip, or would you be thinking about a trip later on, and if so, when and where and what have you? We'd love to get all that information so that we can really tailor make this to this group.
I mean, I can tell you, I'm interested in. I haven't been to the Red Sea for years. I mean, I've probably been there 10 or 15 times, but probably not for at least 10 years. And so the idea of doing something, it just sounds fun. And like you say, you know, you don't need to blow the doors off on depth or difficulty. Just have some easy fun, you know.
Yeah.
That actually sounds
absolutely
quite attractive.
Yeah, it's to me too.
Not all the trips have to be truck or bikini or, you know.
They don't.
Malin Head or whatever.
And let's be honest, if you swim into Thomas Canyon and even if you go underneath the first arch and you come up that wall and do that drift around the top, oh my word, it is something else. And if you're swimming in the 40-45 meter range off the edge of Yolanda Reef, wow, that's exactly. A cracking dive, you know. Absolutely mind-blowing dive.
Very difficult to stay at 40 meters on your land, isn't it? You just look down and think, oh, beautiful.
My deepest ever dive was just around the corner. I did 150 meters at Shark Observatory, and that was pretty spectacular. Back in the days before we had helium analyzers. No helium analyzers. It was all helium.
Yeah. But, you know, so less deco, and the deco you do will be fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely, mate. And on set, don't forget, on one of these dive sites, I'm going to talk to Ahmed about it. The last time I went to the Red Sea, funnily enough, was with him. It's that long ago. And on the last day, we were heading back up to Hurghada, and he took me on this reef that had coral caves on it. So we did a 60-meter dive, which was great. And then we came up, and I was teaching two girls, two twins. And we got to the coral caves, and I tied on a line between two bits of dead coral, and I dropped my stage, well, all of them but one. And then because the one girl was on twin set, one was on a rebreather, but because she was so bloody awesome on gas consumption, right, like 99.9% recurring of girls are, we spent about an hour and 20 minutes just mucking around in those caves in 6 to 3 meters of water because she had that much gas. The decompression was finished. It was just a mind-blowing way to end the trip. And I think the two girls enjoyed the cave more than they enjoyed the 60-meter dive.
So have you got the next trip after this planned
Yeah,
out?
I mean, what would be a good idea? I think if people have got any ideas or you know, any potential things that they'd like to do, is just drop us an email and then I can share them with Paul.
Yep.
You know, include things like, you know, when you would like to do things as well. So what we don't really want to do is one person wants to go to the Maldives, another to Palau, and one wants to go in January, another one wants to go in February. But if we can try and amalgamate it, and we'll probably even try and set up maybe like a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group or something like that, and we can build this community up, and hopefully it'll be, you know, we'll be the pioneers of something new and exciting, and get lots of new divers back into sort of technical diving now, because it has been a shrinking market, I think, for quite a few years now, and we need to get the excitement back into it, I'd say.
Mark,
Yeah,
you nail it with WhatsApp. We use Google Drive because I look after 800 divers, and if you think trying to get one boat of people to go in one direction, make them military and then give them the destination around the world, but definitely a WhatsApp group, an overarching one, and then one for each of the trips, and they're all linked to a Google Drive spreadsheet that people can go in and just put their first, second, third choices. It makes your life so much easier.
Yeah,
Good shout.
yeah, because obviously there's a lot of, there's 4, 8, 12, there's 14 of us here at the moment, plus the 2 or 3 guys that have already signed up on this trip. So we do need to be a little bit flexible. And what we want to do is kind of ramp our way up. But if we start with a WhatsApp group, that would be brilliant with, you know, some ideas for in the future. The other thing is as well is obviously I teach and I travel and I do expeditions and whatever. So I'm not free to just go at the drop of a hat. You know, Mark's been organizing this. Mark and I have been organizing this now for several months. We also have picked just before the summer, and if we were to go to the Red Sea again, we'd probably pick just after the summer, because you don't want to be there when it's 45 degrees. It's unmerciful. It's absolute. And as a tech diver, you want the option to be able to use your dry suit, right? Because the buoyancy characteristics of a dry suit are quite frankly superior. So if you're able to take your dry suit and just put thin base layers on, you're laughing, aren't you? Obviously, if you want to dive wetsuit, I'm not going to say you can't dive a wetsuit, right? I just want to make that clear. I'm not anti-wetsuit. But for me, I've got sinky feet, so I like being in my dry suit. And if I don't have to put my dry suit on in 46, 48 degrees of heat out in the middle of the Red Sea, I'm a bit happier. Very cool. So has anybody got any other questions or anything they want to discuss? Are you all happy to be dropped into a WhatsApp group, or would you prefer to contact Mark to say that you're happy?
What I'll do, Paul, is I'll set the WhatsApp group up tomorrow,
Yeah.
and then I will put a link to it on our Facebook page, and I'll share it with you as well.
Fabulous.
And then you can share it on yours, and then between everybody on here, they should be able to find both of us one way or another.
Yeah, fabulous. And if any of you've got any specific questions about training, Alex with your side mount, Ian with your side mount rebreather, if you can't find my number, just get it off Mark. Mark, you got my permission to give any of the guys my number and my email. I know there's the link's in there, and you'll find it on the website. If you go onto the Diving Metrics website, you'll find my contact details there as well.
Cool. And I think we've got a few of our club members on here as well, so they get free pool sessions and things. So if they want to practice any of their skills before they get on the boat, or we've obviously got Mercer's Lake down near Gatwick. People obviously welcome to come down there as well.
Yeah. So one interesting thing for, I don't know how many of you this is. Can you put your hands up if you're not a tech diver in any way, shape, or form? Can you just click the raise hand thing? There we go. 1, 2. Because I've got Craig, Lucy, Conrad, Sean. Okay, not a tech diver. All right, so there's a few of you on to tech diver. That's 3 of you so far. 4 of you so far. So what if you have any doubt about what you're about to undertake, obviously, Alex, you've kind of decided that side mount is the route that you want to go, which is great. So you've got a decision, a firm decision in your mind. But for the rest of you, if you haven't, in the WhatsApp group, perhaps I'm away until start of February. But if I can, and I can't promise anything, but if I can get some twin sets and some stuff between me and Mark, we may be able to do you a try dive. So you could say, well, look, I really want to do this, but I need to do a try dive. Worst comes to the worst, Mark, I may be able to find someone who could do a try dive for the guys in my absence, just so they could say, oh, actually, our twin set is nowhere near as bad as I thought it was, or whatever. Side mount is
side mount instructors as well. So for tasters and things, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Yeah, yeah, because
then a date that everyone can do, really.
Yeah, so the point is if you have any fear, or you don't want to make the commitment because you don't really know how you're going to feel in this equipment, an hour-long try dive will give you some nice feedback to how the equipment goes. Try dives on rebreathers are very, very different. Generally, what happens on a try dive on a rebreather, you come out the water and you hate the bloody thing. But on open circuit, side mounts and twin sets, you'll come out the water you'll be like, oh my god, this is just the way to go. For those of you who are more back mount orientated, the way that a twin set holds you in the water is just phenomenal. You've got 24 liters of gas behind your back. Side mount, you've got all your valves right there. Your gauges are right there. You can take them on and off if you're using alleys. They're just beautiful. They're beautiful, beautiful disciplines. And other than when I'm diving with my son, Sebastian, who's a single tank diver, if I'm out scalloping, I'm in my twin set. I absolutely love my twin set. And if I'm not in my twin set, I'm in my side mount rebreather. I would be in side mount open circuit, but I've got a side mount rebreather, so there's no point. Oh, and I've disappeared again. There we go. So yeah. And I've gone again.
Your camera. We're about to get you for Christmas now, Paul. Get your new webcam.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get a new webcam.
You spend all your money on dive kit like me, and then you buy cheap webcams to make up for it.
Well, this fella's been going for quite a while, but I don't know. The funny thing is, on Zoom, it doesn't give me any lip whatsoever. On Teams, it keeps bugging out. I don't know why. Maybe Mr. Microsoft knows I've got an Apple. That's what it is.
That could be.
Cool. So if there's no more questions, I will turn my camera back on. And then we can wait for Mark to set up the bloody hell. We can wait for Mark to set up the WhatsApp group. And then we can take it from there. I'm going to use a different camera very quickly. I'm going to use that one. Am I here? That doesn't work. Am I there? No. I'll keep trying it. We go there and there. There we go. I'll look at this one now. Yes, so if let me just move you onto the screen. If there are no more questions, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. I really enjoyed that. As you can tell, I can talk until the cows come home. I hope it's answered a lot of your questions, but use the WhatsApp group or contact me directly if you've got any other questions that you need answering. And I really do hope to see as many of you as possible on this inaugural trip to Egypt, because I think it's going to be a gas.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Paul.
Thanks,
Mark.
Paul.